out here on the ranch in Colorado, most days I'm riding with friends or riding my horse, working them out in the arena. I ride at least one all-day ride a week in good weather. Living here has been the best place I've ever been. Quiet, peaceful, good country, great place to live with a horse. When I graduated from high school, up in Emporium, Pennsylvania, it's about 100 miles north of Indiana, up in hunting and fishing country. I was a young 17-year-old guy, and I went to IUP mainly because I had an aunt and uncle that lived on North 9th Street, and they agreed to trade room and board for me if I would do some work for them. And so I ended up living with them and going to IUP, and I entered in the business department when I first went there, my first year. And I was more interested as a 17-year-old in having a good time than I was in studying, so that year wasn't a real highlight. And by the end of the year, I was on probation, so I decided to join the Navy and go see the world. The really big benefit for me from being in the Navy was that I got the GI Bill. And so when I got out and came back to IUP and entered into the elementary education program, that was such a big bonus for me during my 4 years of completing my undergraduate degree. So when people ask me about or thank me for my service, I tell them, well, I appreciate that, but the truth is, I feel like I got more than I gave. You know, when I came back to IUP after being 4 years in the Navy and walking around on a submarine where if I wasn't in the center of it, I was banging my head on pipes and valves and had hydraulic oil dripping on me, I was way more motivated than I was when I was at IUP as a freshman. So when I was at IUP, you know, there were a number of people that I feel like influenced my life. They were professors who, in my mind, gave the extra 10%. A man named Bill Betts, who I had for freshman English. And he and I kind of became friends over the years that I was there, and we played tennis together a couple of times. And by the time I was a senior, he contacted me and said that his brother was an assistant superintendent of education in Oxnard, California. And he was coming to recruit teachers at IUP and wanted to know if I might be interested in meeting him. And I said, yes, sir, I believe I would. When Bill's brother came to IUP, I was student teaching at Ben Franklin Elementary. So he had him call me, and he made arrangements to come out and observe me and talk to my supervising teacher. And he ended up offering me a teaching job in Oxnard, California. And I thought about it for a little bit, and I called him back a couple days later, and I said, you know, I've been thinking about maybe staying for another year and completing my master's degree so I don't have to do that like nights and weekends while I'm teaching. And he said, well, I'll probably be back next year, so I'll keep you in mind. So we let it go at that, and I ended up staying at IUP for another year. And the unusual thing that happened was I went over to see the dean about getting a graduate assistantship when I had decided to stay. And he said, you know, at this point, the ones that we had available in elementary education are gone. They're already spoken for. He said, the only one I have left is in the art department. He said there are two profs in there. One is a sculpture prof, his name was Tom Dongilla, and one's a painter, his name was Bob Cronauer. He said, if you want to go meet with those two gentlemen, if they will take you, you can have a scholarship, a graduate assistantship in the art department. And I went and talked with them, and they accepted me, and that was the single most serendipitous event of my life. It changed my life. Art has just, it's just become something very important in my life, especially Western art. And once I got into working in real estate part-time and working with rental properties and building some homes and so forth, the art influenced how I saw the buildings, the colors I chose, how I landscaped them, the way people responded when I was showing them for rental or when I had realtors showing the properties, how I decorated my own homes that I've lived in over the years. So art has just, it's influenced my life in so many different ways. And the bottom line, I guess, is I got an assistantship from the art department, but what I got was more than I gave. Art has become such an important part of my life. When I first was approached by Susan Stake, who was a development officer from IUP a few years ago, and she was on a trip out here and contacted me, and she talked to me about what I had felt like I had gotten from IUP, and I have such great memories and feel such a obligation to give back that we started talking about the art department because that influenced me, affected me so much. And eventually she brought the dean from the School of Fine Arts with her the following year, and we sat down out in my courtyard and brainstormed some things that we could do. And that's when I agreed to start funding some scholarships for IUP. And my hope is that students who take advantage of scholarships are more motivated than I was when I was a freshman the first time. Bottom line, I guess, for IUP is the same thing, no matter what I have done for IUP or what I'm able to do in the future, I will still always feel that I got more than I gave.